So here we are with the XR100 motor. Basically, I started working on the dirt bike, found a lot of problems. So I decided to tear the whole thing down. Frame's over there in the corner, whole thing's apart. There's my 250. So what we're going to do now is we're going to tear apart this XR100 motor. It does have a TV Parts 120 big bore kit on it. Not very confident, again, about the kid who put it together. So we're going to be pulling rocker cover off, head, cylinder. When I get a puller, I'm going to take the flywheel off. The stator is not getting voltage. I'm getting no spark. So I'm just going to go ahead and replace the stator. And then this left-hand cover broke off. So this will be getting replaced, get everything cleaned up. I don't see any leaks so far in the countershaft. Everything spins nice and free. Motor turns over nice. It is supposed to be a fresh, unrun piston. So we will see how everything looks once we get the motor apart. So I'm going to switch over to my GoPro now, and we'll go ahead and fix the video. No, never mind. Start off by taking the rocker cover off. Already had this off once to reset the timing. Timing was 2 teeth off when I got it. Rocker cover's off, looks pretty clean. Gasket's in good shape, so we're going to hang on to that and reuse it. So next we're going to take off the 4 bolts for the camshaft retainer. I'm going to go ahead and set the engine at top dead center. Really no reason to, but I'd rather just have everything straight up. Right here on the flywheel there's a mark for top dead center and for F for fire. I'm going to go ahead and set it at T for top dead center. That should leave slack on both of my rocker arms and allow me to take this off nice and square. These are also the top 4 cylinder head bolts. Once these come off, leaves the cylinder's head on a stud. You have one 12 mil here that has to come out. So you have 4 12 mil with washers. Take a little rubber mallet. Now on these you do have locating dowels. Make sure those don't come off and fall on the motor. You need those to make sure everything's square. So oil passengers here, and then the rocker arms, cam followers as they're called. They actually look pretty smooth, not a lot of wear. The tips are showing not a lot of wear either. You want to be real careful not to damage the journals here. This is where the camshaft actually rides. There are no bearings. It's just a cam on journal design. So you want to make sure these are nice and smooth, no nicks, and they actually feel really good. Now I'm going to go ahead and take the camshaft out. I'm going to rotate that just a little bit so I can get these.
Do you need the tip?
Yeah, these are 10 mil.
Yep.
Just going to break them loose.
That for something.
I'm going to remove these by hand. Trying to be careful not to drop these into the crankcase.
How would be that?
I'm not going to split the case on this one. I don't think it needs to be split. Should be sealed up fairly well. Now you can turn this over as much as you want without the rocker arms in. Both valves are going to stay closed, so you're not going to hit a piston if you have to spin it over. Alright, here's the cam gear. Comes forward. And this is the camshaft. Camshaft is in good shape. Also inspect the journals. Make sure everything's nice and smooth. Everything is smooth. Again, no nicks, no strange marks on the profile, and the journal surfaces are also nice and clean. Keep that out of the way so nothing nicks it or scratches it. We have one more 12 mil that has to come out. This will be the final bolt holding on the cylinder head. Also, you have your cam chain tensioner. 12 mil lock nut gets loosened up, and you back this out. Take the tension off the timing chain. The guy that put this together said the timing chain was real tight. I also found it to be very tight, so I'm not sure the tensioner is assembled correctly or even working. It's another reason I want to tear this motor down, just kind of see what's going on for myself. I don't trust other people, especially people I don't know with engine builds. Cam gear looks decent condition. I'm just going to let this drop. It's not going anywhere. Cylinder head comes off. Drain that oil there. Okay, so the cylinder head looks pretty good. It actually, yes, appears that the valves are new. Head surface looks pretty good. I'm going to carefully remove this head gasket. I will probably reuse this. It's never been run, so it hasn't been heat cycled. So we should be okay on that. Set this down. You also want to be careful with the sealing surface. You don't want to nick it, scratch it, cut it, bang it around. I'm going to lay it down on this towel here just for safekeeping. I will probably machine it flat again before I put it back together. Now, some diagrams I've been looking at, there is supposed to be a spring in here. I do not actually see that spring, so I'm going to have to consult my Honda manual again. Just going to loosen this up here. And this is the cylinder. So the cylinder is brand new. There's no marks on it. Here is the tensioner. And I do not actually see a spring, and I do believe there's supposed to be a spring on here. Like I said, I have to double check. The cylinder is brand new. Cross hatching is good, machining's good. No marks. Everything appears to, like the guy got it from, said to be a new cylinder.
Are these all supposed to be like equal sizes of top?
Yeah. Okay, so one problem I'm already seeing here, this oil control ring, he made a comment that he had a hard time getting the oil ring in, and he told me something about a vise and a hammer. So that's the reason I'm taking this thing apart, because when you tell me something about a vise and a hammer installing your piston rings, that's when I'm probably going to tear the motor down. So that's the oil control. That's the bottom ring. That's the oil control ring. See how it's deformed and out of shape? There is absolutely no way that would have been a functional oil ring. That thing would have blown oil out and burned oil like crazy. I don't know who would have thought that's a good idea to install it that way. Let's see, the other rings may or may not have been installed correctly. I'm really not too worried about that. It looks pretty good. I'll go ahead and pull the snap ring out for the piston. Again, be careful not to drop that into the crankcase. That's just a small G clip, looks like a letter G. Also snap ring. Then we're going to push out from this back side. Trying to be very careful not to scratch the bore. Get this wrist pin slides in. Okay, wrist pin is out. Piston looks good. This apparently does not use a roller bearing. It's just a simple journal on bearing design. This piston is a brand new piston. You see a little bit of wear from where it was kicked over to try to get it to start. I will clean that up with a little steel wool. I'll just put a new set of rings on it anyway of that piston. Nice and clean. You see there's a mark for the intake valve and the exhaust valve. Of course, that will be pointing this way, the intake valve. Okay, now checking the... There's really no wear. Really not any that worries me. Not really any up and down. Well, the timing chain is still connected. There's a gear behind the crankshaft. Behind this flywheel and stator, and there's a lower gear. That's what this is connected to. So actually this bottom end feels pretty good. Not really going to worry about it right now. I'm just going to get this thing running and go from there. So I got to get a flywheel puller. I'm going to get that done, and I will probably also take the cylinder head apart, pull the valves apart, and I'm going to relap the valves of the cylinder head. The kid said he installed new valves, which I can obviously see these valves being new, but I don't know how many hours on these valve seats. I'm just going to polish these chambers up and lap these valves down to the seat so they seal correctly. While I'm in here, I'm going to go ahead and do a little cleanup of the intake and exhaust ports. They actually are pretty okay sized ports for what you have, but there's a little bit of cleanup work they can do. I can cut this valve guide back a little bit, just do a little extra for flow. Otherwise, everything looks like it should clean up pretty good. Kid said he just ran this thing on weekends and ran around the neighborhood, and then he wrecked it and couldn't get it started after he wrecked it. So I guess. Alright, so I went ahead and checked the valves, filled each port here with a little bit of liquid, a little alcohol to see if it ran out. Exhaust valve was good, sealed nice and tight, no alcohol dripped out. As soon as I filled the intake, it started seeping out. Not a whole lot, but it was enough to concern me. Went ahead and pulled the valve. Was told both these valves were new. This looks pretty new to me. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna lap this valve, get it cleaned up, get this valve seat cleaned up. Also gonna do the exhaust. Maybe just leave it alone. I'll have to pull it out anyway to clean up that port. Otherwise, the head looks good. I'll throw new valve seals on it while I've got it out. Maybe have new guides pressed in. I'm not sure. It seems to be a pretty tight fit. But again, that intake valve was not holding alcohol, so just trying to get the best compression I can out of this motor and kind of go from there. That'll be all for right now. I'm going to make another video for the second half of this case breakdown when I pull apart the flywheel stator, the hull sensor. Got to check the wiring, make sure everything's good. I'll probably rebuild the harness, pull the kickstart off, make sure all the seals are good. Like I said, I probably will not split the case because I don't think that needs to be done.